In this video, I'm going to show you the UK's public charging at its very worst. It's going to start with a fairly normal review of an Ecotricity charger in line with the ones I've done before. It's all going to go downhill from there. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And yes, it's time for another public rapid charging review. If you don't currently drive an electric car, the charging network you're most likely to have heard of or be aware of is Ecotricity's electric highway. There's a simple reason for that, in that you'll find one in pretty much every motorway services in the country. They have an exclusive arrangement with the motorway services operators to provide electric car charging at motorway services. And you're probably more aware of them because you'll associate long motorway journeys with the need to rapid charge, and you wouldn't be far wrong. If you currently do drive an EV, you're probably well aware of electric highway, and the reason for that unfortunately being that they tend to be the network that people know the most problems with. They turn up and try and charge and it doesn't work, or the charges are out of order. There are an awful lot of reports of issues with that network. I've never used Ecotricity myself, and given I've arrived here with a fairly low state of charge, only showing about 15 miles on the gasometer, kind of hope it works, although I do have a plan B if it doesn't. Today I'm at Gloucester Services southbound, and we have two Ecotricity chargers here, but only one of the two has CCS. So we have one that has CCS and CHAdeMO on one unit, so you could charge CCS cars like the MG ZS EV, BMW i3, and a lot of other cars. The vast majority of current EV models use CCS for rapid charging, or you could CHAdeMO for Nissan Leaf, and other. I don't actually know what other cars use CHAdeMO, but I know that the vast majority of Leafs do. And we have another unit here that has AC rapid charging for older Renault Zoes, which can charge up to 43 kilowatts on AC. I don't know what the power output of the Ecotricity charger is, but I assume it's at least 22 kilowatts, if not 43. And it has CHAdeMO as well. So there's only one CCS pump here, which I guess creates a capacity problem when the roads are busy. I mean, if you're arriving here and there could be a queue of cars waiting to charge, and I think that's where your newer installations by people like InstaVolt really have a bit of an advantage there, is because they all have CCS and they're putting in multiple, 2, 4, 8 on one site, so where power supplies allow, I guess. So you have a bit more capacity in the network, and multiple EV drivers can turn up and they can charge at once. As far as I know, the vast majority of these Ecotricity installations at motorway services only have one CCS, if they have any at all. Some don't even have any. But hopefully with time and with some investment that'll change. I think the main reason for the dominance of CHAdeMO at these sites is because originally this network was built in coordination or cooperation with Nissan, and it was these Ecotricity chargers at motorway services that actually drove people to buy Nissan Leafs to start with, because you could charge for free to start with. There were no payments required for charging, and I think there were quite a lot of people in the early days buying a Leaf, running it up around the country, doing actually pretty huge mileages, not paying a penny for fuel essentially, and really reaping the benefits of being an early adopter. Times have moved on a bit, times have definitely changed since then, but I guess that the Nissan involvement in the Ecotricity rollout at services when that began in sort of 2010, 2011, I guess, led to this dominance, the CHAdeMO dominance that we seem to have. But hopefully that'll change. I know that they're planning on rolling out some new style units that are a bit more like the hardware that InstaVolt uses. At some of they've got a couple of sort of charging hub installations planned, one in Rugby, for example, and I'm sure that there are others in the pipeline too. Though that seems to be progressing quite slowly, but hopefully that means that there is actually going to be some more investment in electric highway, because their current reputation doesn't really do them any favours, and I think the age of some of these installations is probably what is driving that. Some of this hardware is actually getting on a bit now, and they could do to be refreshing and expanding. Anyway, let's download the app get plugged in, and hopefully this is going to work. First things first, we'll need to download the app. So, iPhone users on the Apple App Store, I'm going to search for Ecotricity. And hopefully, okay, here we have the Electric Highway app. I think this really is the biggest problem with a lot of charging networks, is this reliance on an app. As I showed in the InstaVolt and Osprey videos, the fact you can just use your contactless card, plug in, and it works. You know, there's none of this, oh, you need to download this app, you need to download that app before you can have any chance of using our chargers. And that's a real barrier to entry. I mean, I can't see me regularly using Ecotricity unless I, for some reason, start pounding the motorway network. But even then, there are often off motorway InstaVolt Osprey chargers, which are probably in more convenient locations where you don't need to pay quite as much to eat and drink and stuff. So, okay, so I finally downloaded the app, created an account, and we're good to go. So, following the instructions in the app, seems I need to press charge my vehicle now, and scan the QR code on the pump. So it seems we have a QR code on the front of the thing here, so I'm going to do the usual, get this ready to go. It looks like it is starting to snow, so that'll be excellent for the rate of charge, I'm sure. Get the thing ready to go. I'm now showing that I should connect to my vehicle, so I'm going to do that with a rather manky looking CCS plug. She's in there. And we are initializing. Looking good so far. Pre-charging, nice. Okay. Sounds good. 11% state of charge. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. So that didn't work. So Ecotricity at Gloucester Services South seems to have performed exactly, unfortunately, as expected. The charge failed. I'm left here with 11% charge. Thankfully, there's an Osprey charger not far from here, the one I used in the last video. So I'm going to go there and charge. And maybe we'll make a second Osprey video, because I could try out my Octopus electric juice card there for payment, and you know, you can maybe watch that the next time. But there you are. Attempt number 1 at Ecotricity, and that's a big fail for me. My car is very nearly out of charge, and I've just made it to an Osprey charge point. So this charger should look familiar, because it is the same one I used in the last video. As usual, I'll remove the awkward charging port covers. We have the Octopus juice card. Well, that hasn't gone well. Okay, that isn't working. Fantastic. Not quite sure why, but that didn't work, so we'll just go with the contactless bank card. No, that's not working either. Oh, maybe it is. I think I was pressing the bank card on the wrong one. It's processing now. Hopefully this is going to work. Looking good. We're showing connected but not charging. It's not looking good today. Could be a problem with my car. This is not the time to find out there's a problem with my car. That hasn't gone well. Now, I must say I'm pretty surprised at that. As you saw in the last video, that I made it an Osprey charger, it worked absolutely fine. I wasn't expecting to have any issues today. That's why I chose it as my oh shit, everything's gone wrong, that one will be fine option. It does make me wonder if my car has developed a fault, and I'll definitely need to try charging it somewhere else to see if that is the case. I'll go back to my old favourite of InstaVolt and see if it'll work there, and if it doesn't, it's going to have to go in and be looked at. Currently charging on a 7 kilowatt pod point at Tesco, just to get enough juice to carry on without the fear of conking out at the side of the road. So not been a great day for charging. While I'm sitting here waiting for my car to be charged enough to go somewhere else and try and charge it again. It's a strange world we found ourselves in. I've had a quick look on the Osprey app at the charger where I just had a failed charge from, and it actually shows that the CCS connector is unavailable. Now the charger itself, as you saw when I went there, the lights were green, everything looked like it was operational, it allowed me to select CCS to charge, but in the app itself, the CCS connector is greyed out and you can't actually select it to start a charge. So that suggests to me there is actually a problem with that particular charger, which reassures me a little bit in that my car isn't broken, or the dodgy Ecotricity charger hasn't broken my car, because it actually looks like there's more of an issue with that particular Osprey charger than it looked like there was. So that's a strange one. Maybe I should have phoned the helpline and at least reported that to them, or tried to get some support from them. I sat at the pod point at Tesco just to get up to sort of 12-13% state of charge, enough to take the 3 dashes off the dash and give me an idea that I wasn't immediately going to run out of juice. And then I went back to the Osprey charger. I thought I'd give them another chance, and actually I do what I said I should have done. If it fails again, phone the helpline, see if they can help. So I plugged in, did everything I showed you before, and the charge failed to start. Phoned the helpline, and to be fair, they answered the phone very quickly, and they're very courteous, very helpful. They rebooted the unit, they walked me through plugging it back in and trying again, and it still didn't work. And at this point I'm like, is there a problem with the charger? Is there a problem with my car? Getting a bit worried now, not gonna lie. Did that dodgy Ecotricity unit damage my car? Does it now need to go to an MG dealer and get looked at? So I now had enough charge to get me to my old faithful InstaVolt in Gloucester, the one that I did the video at, and I know that will, more than likely work most of the time, right? They're renowned for their reliability, so I thought I'll drive there now, we'll plug in and we'll see if it'll charge. And I'm happy to report it is charging. We're pulling a solid 40 kilowatts, because obviously the battery's at a very low state of charge. It's at 13% now and rising. Plugged in, scanned my contactless card, plugged in, started charging. First time, no problem, no drama. Exactly what I've come to expect from InstaVolt. And what was the story here today? Ecotricity and Osprey both having a bad day? Have I picked two particularly duff units? You decide, but it does show public charging's got a long way to go. These sort of single charger sites, one of them breaks, that's it, that whole site's out of action. This InstaVolt site I'm at now, there's 2 separate units. It's unlikely they'll both be out of action at once. Now granted, the one next to me is being used at the moment, but at least it's there, it's working, and if this one was faulty I could have tried that one. But happy to report we should be back on the move shortly, and everything's working as intended. Well, what an experience that was. I suppose it was bound to happen sooner rather than later, that I'd have one of these calamitous public charging experiences that everybody talks about. Ecotricity, useless. Osprey, useless, although I suspect I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I've used that particular charger before and it worked absolutely fine, if a little bit slowly. InstaVolt, as usual, dead reliable, steps in, saves the day, works for plug-in, works first time, fast. I'm now beyond 80% charged and back on the road, ready to go. Perfect. And that's exactly what you need, but it's just a shame I had to go through the 2 failures to get here. And that shows the real problem, right? If you're going to stop on a long journey and then fail to charge and have to hope you're going to make it to the next charger, that's when it's going to get really, really stressful. And I totally get that. And having now lived it, I totally get it. Limping about with no charge at all. That's it for this video. It's not quite what I was hoping to bring to you, but I told you I'd share you the bad as well as the good. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.